You're listening to the Sass Says podcast. I'm your host, Christie Rocha, also known as Sass. I identify as a woman, a wife, and a mother. That should tell you a lot already. And over the last few years, I've learned the value of talk therapy. I have seen how my inner work not only enhances my own well-being, but also my marriage, my parenting, my relationships. And in fact, you wouldn't be hearing this right now if it weren't for the work I've done. My mission is to debunk the misconceptions and stigmas around what therapy is and who it's for. Let's normalize working on our mental health and seeking help when needed. We've all heard of self-care, self-help, and self-love, but do you often wonder how to actually make it all happen? I do. You'll hear strategy-based conversations with professionals, as well as inspiring and validating stories from women who are just like you and me. Think of this podcast as the weekly therapy sessions you didn't know you needed, with a dash of sass, a lot of vulnerability, and me, relentlessly asking, but how? Hello. All right. Welcome to my first solo show of the month. If you missed Wednesday's episode with Sarah Wallace, certified Enneagram Coach, you're going to want to go back and check it out. Sarah shared her insights on how the Enneagram can help us understand our motives and unlock our productivity and potential. Today, I want to share my personal experience as a Type 3 and how the Enneagram has helped me understand myself and those around me. You can find out your type if you don't already know what it is by doing a quick Google search for a free quiz. You can listen to Sarah's podcast. You can go to her website. You can download her free cheat sheet that I'm going to link in the show notes. You can also read the book that I mentioned that I read, The Road Back to You. But really, there's a lot of free quizzes online that you can just go do right now if you don't know your type. So, as I mentioned in my conversation with Sarah, I did read the book called The Road Back to You, and I was actually interviewed on Sarah's podcast, which both have helped me process my learnings on what Type 3 is and why I resonate with it so much. So I'm going to break down some of the key components of the Type 3s and how I relate to them. Type 3 is also known as the achiever or the performer. The first sort of bullet point for a Type 3 is the desire for success. Type 3s are highly motivated to succeed and achieve their goals, often setting high standards for themselves and striving to be the best in their field. Yeah, I mean, if I look back in my life and I think about sports, school, promotions at work, I wanted to be the best. I wanted to have success, and I had dreams of going to the best schools and getting the best grades and being the best athlete, and that's really what pushed me. And then, like I said, getting into the workforce, how quickly can I move up? How quickly can I be the boss? But in motherhood, particularly, I really had to question and challenge my definition of success. No one is handing out a raise for wiping butts. No one's honoring me with an award for sleep training. So I've had to really look at what I value and what I see as success and attempt to redefine what it means for me to achieve. This was like a smack in the face. And I've talked about this in the show before where, up until a certain point in my life, there were just mile markers that I was always striving for. And, here we are. I've hit the mile markers. I went to school, got the grades, went to college, did the sports, got a job, met the guy, bought the house, had the kids. And it's like, now what? And the now what is the work of redefining what it actually means to achieve. Now that can be tricky because the second bullet point of a Type 3 is the need for recognition. Type 3s crave validation and recognition for their accomplishments and may even become anxious or stressed when they feel that their efforts are not being acknowledged or appreciated. So, here we are, someone who not only wants to achieve, but also really thrived in environments where there was an award given out at the end of it, or there was, in high school when I'd have a really good softball game, I would love seeing my name in the paper. And the tricky thing with this is looking at the motive for wanting the recognition. Am I being true to myself in what I'm putting out there? Am I putting on a show? Why do I want this recognition? And in some ways, it's actually really helped me chill out a little bit, just knowing that a need for recognition is sort of in my wiring, so to speak, because even with social media now, yeah, I want the views, I want the likes, I want the downloads, and I'm always checking those things. And there was a part of me that felt really icky about that. And it's like, you know what? Nope. I'm just going to lean into that and create some healthy boundaries around it, which I have to say I have done quite a bit in the last year or so of being on social media and it not really being the be all end all situation that I dreamed it would be at this point. And I've had to think about kind of getting back to basics of why am I posting? What am I posting? And am what I am putting out there content-wise across all the platforms something that I genuinely stand behind and enjoy making? I still don't have all that figured out yet, but I can at least start to see the path for it. The next bullet point is adaptability. Type 3's are skilled at adapting to different situations and environments, often using their charisma and charm to win people over and achieve their goals. Of course, I immediately think about the previous positions I've held in sales. Won't lie, I killed it in sales. I think about when I was a bartender and a server and just really, connecting with someone and having a good time and making them think we're all together having the best time in the world, even if all I wanted to do is sit down and go home. I'm also thinking about the solo show where I talked about going to the Dr. Becky book signing. If you did not hear that episode, basically I went to, the long story short is that I went to a book signing with Dr. Becky and I knew there would be time for Q&A and I was trying to think of a question that I really wanted to ask her. I knew that most of the questions in the room would be centered around parenting and something specific about, that person's kid or that person's spouse or that person's parenting situation. And I just kept thinking, you know what, the way I'm going to make an impact and, for lack of a better way to say it, win this room over and hopefully win Dr. Becky over is by asking an out of the box question. And I did. And I even questioned with my therapist. As much as I wanted to know the answer to the question, I think I really just wanted to charm her and charm the room. And I've had to just work on that a little bit too, right? Like not necessarily in the Dr. Becky situation because whatever, you have one shot to be in front of Dr. Becky, like shoot your shot. But just in life, whether I'm at dinner with my girlfriends or at a work meeting or, just in a conversation sitting around a table with family, I've had to work a little bit at feeling content to just be another person in the room. And perhaps that sounds silly to you, but, it's not always my job to shine or to make an impact. And I've really come to find a lot of peace in that and even, dare I say, beauty. From my point of view, I also see it as a lesson in listening. To strictly listen and observe without also thinking about how I will respond or add to the conversation, it's a skill. And I actually enjoy most of my time now just being. And I use this platform to be the center of attention. So the next bullet point is focus on image. So type 3's are often concerned with their image and how they are perceived by others, sometimes to the point of sacrificing their own authenticity and true selves. So, obviously you guys are on this journey with me. Body image immediately comes to mind. Concerned with my image and how I'm perceived by others in relation to my body and what my body type says about me. I can also dig deep and think about times where I was pretty materialistic and thought that having a certain bag or a certain pair of jeans or a certain, I used to get my hair cut at a place in New York City with a really famous name because I just wanted the clout. I wanted to be perceived by others as someone who was bougie and had her life together. And I'm also now recalling my conversations with Chelsea Rife and Adriana Keefe about manifesting, because what I've now had to look at as a type 3 and learn from is, in relation to the manifesting, is that rather than manifest a material item, these women have taught me that what you really want to manifest is the feeling. What's driving the desire for the material item? And so when I look at it that way, it's choice, it's abundance, it's financial stability, it's freedom, it's ease, right? It's having those feelings in relation to money, I guess, but that give you the option. I don't actually know now to this day that I would buy all of the material things that I used to try to manifest, right? But it's more about having the option. So that's something I think about on a pretty regular basis, especially given the culture that we live in. Given if you spend any time on social media, there is always someone trying to sell you something, influence you in some way to buy something, and it's so easy to just save and click the link and go to like to know it. And it's like, I have to now take pause, do I really want or need this? Or am I just interested in this because this is the 16th time that someone has shown me this and said, I love it? Anyway, a little off topic there, but you get what I'm saying. The next point is tendency to be competitive. So type 3s may be competitive with others, driven to succeed and prove themselves to be the best. Yeah, always. I mean, always, right? I've just mentioned academics, athletics, super competitive, wanted to be the best. I have learned, though, whether it's just with maturity or, I don't know, just life lessons, I think that there is a time and place. I'm competitive, but it's almost like I'm just more competitive with myself now than with others. I don't really have a desire to, quote unquote, beat anyone in most cases, to win. I truly actually believe that there is room for everyone at the table. And so it's really just competitive with myself. And now, listen, if you put me on a cornhole set with my brothers-in-laws, heck yes, I'm competitive, and heck yes, I want to win. But when I look at the things that are really, I want to say, the things that really matter in life, this podcast, with my kids, with my marriage, with my work, I don't really have a strong desire to win and beat out others. It's more just still the desire for success in what I determine to be success. So, difficulty with vulnerability is the next point. And so type 3s may struggle with vulnerability and expressing their true emotions, as they fear that doing so may undermine their image or lead to failure. So I don't resonate so much with this one. And actually, if I go back to the focus on image, it mentions sometimes to the point of sacrificing their own authenticity and true selves. Yes, for a time I did that in talking about the materialism and the body image, right? But difficulty with vulnerability, I don't think so. I mean, here I am. I am sharing some of my deepest, darkest, most embarrassing secrets and everything with you. I mean, you hear me every week talk about really vulnerable things. So I don't know. Probably the only point that I don't resonate with so much. That being said, I have learned over the last few years of therapy that I have needed to be at times a little more vulnerable with myself. I rarely struggle to be vulnerable with others, but facing myself is actually a little bit more difficult. And as self-aware as I am, I'm also really good at convincing myself something is one thing when it's really another, when it comes to things that are really deep. And I'm mostly thinking of body image, honestly. I wanted to believe for a long time that it wasn't an issue. And it's like, okay, right. Yeah, like it's really a big issue. So let's just be real with ourselves on that and deal with it. Okay. The next point is a strong work ethic. Type 3s are often highly productive and hardworking, using their time and energy to accomplish their goals and achieve success. Yeah. I mean, I am the person that on the weekends, and my husband and I in the past have fought over this. Like, I believe that we should do all of the chores first and then relax. And he's the guy that wants to get up and take his time and relax and do the chores when he does the chores. Like, I feel the need to be highly productive before I can rest. And my whole show is based off of me learning how to not be that way or be that way as intensely, because I burn out, I overthink and overdo and overwork, and I need to learn to take better care of myself. And this really became an issue. I think, we so often hear about this in relation to motherhood, and certainly that is the case for me. But I just want to take it the next sentence further, is that this wasn't not an issue before I became a mother. It just gets exasperated and put so much more in your face as a mom, or in my case as a mom, because when I would push myself to the point of burning out, because I always did, I didn't have anyone looking at me to care for them. So I could, go off the grid for a few days. I could take the weekend off and go to SoulCycle and get a smoothie and chill out and binge watch Netflix. Now I don't have as much freedom to do that. So the times where I do burn myself out and overwork and take highly productive to the next level, there's no recovery time. So where's the recovery? And this whole show, as I've mentioned, and as you know, is about working that out and dealing with it. So, all right. The next point is desire to be admired. Type 3s want to be admired and respected by others and may go to great lengths to gain recognition and approval. This kind of relates to the image thing, right? I want recognition. I want praise. I want to be a leader, and I want to be someone that people look up to. And for the most part, this desire has served me very well. But I can also recognize at times where it has led to some people pleasing. I've learned to really look inward here. This is also where some of those meditations have come into play, when I can actually stick with it. But I don't find this to be such an issue for me as long as I am managing the people-pleasing aspect and not just doing, saying, and being for the sake of being admired. All right, and the last point about a Type 3 is the tendency to ignore their own needs. Type 3s may prioritize their work and accomplishments over their own self-care and well-being, sometimes leading to burnout or stress-related health issues. I mean, duh, okay, that's why we're here. That's why this show exists, because that's pretty much what was happening. And you combine motherhood with being a Type 3, and wowza. Reminds me of in the conversation with Sarah when she said that she kind of holds a little special place in her heart for Type 3s because we tend to carry a lot of pressure on our backs. So breath work, walking, water, meditation, reading, scheduling a babysitter, these are all things that require me to slow down and take care of myself. Going to therapy, these are all the ways that I'm working on this. So again, in learning about myself through the Enneagram, it has simply, as Sarah said, given me another way to look at what motivates me. And I think more importantly, it's allowed me to look at the way these motivators are serving me and in which ways perhaps they are no longer serving me. Because at one point or another, all of these things served me to the point where I kept doing them. But when do they stop serving me? And perhaps in what situations are they not serving me? And that's what I want to look at. And just briefly, I was also able to identify what I believe are the types of some of the closest people to me, and this certainly helps me understand why kind of they are the way they are, and some advice on how to best interact with them. I want to make special note of saying that I specifically said what I believe are their types. The Enneagram works because it is how you perceive yourself. So I might be wrong about the types of the people around me, but it gives me a place to start. It gives me a mode of communication to try and see how it goes. And I always bring this back to the personal, to the self, but if you're a business owner or you manage a team, this is what Sarah does. This is her superpower. She helps you use the Enneagram to create strong teams and leaders. So if you want to learn more about her and about the Enneagram and how it can help you, sign up for the live Zoom panel on May 31st by going to sasssays.com/panel. This is going to be your time to learn more from Sarah and ask her your direct questions. sasssays.com/panel. Sign up to join us on May 31st from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. I hope to see you there, and check in on Wednesday for the next episode. All right, bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. Sass Says is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. This podcast is meant to be educational and not meant to replace professional therapy or professional medical attention. To learn more about today's show and what's new in my world, head over to sasssays.com. Thanks so much. Talk later.